Can you hear us okay, Amy?
I sure can. Hello. Dear Red.
Hi, Amy. We have a small group. I have lots of people that, well, Michael and Glenn had already told me they weren't going to make it. And then last minute, Crystal, Aaliyah, and
Oh no.
Rebecca said they couldn't make it, but we still wanted to meet because there's you, me, Nate, and then I have Will Boddington here who's checking the meeting out
I
to see.
will.
Bird.
Okay,
So
and we're not slated to vote on anything anyway, right, tonight? Yeah.
no, so we don't because we wouldn't have a quorum.
Quorum, yeah.
Need at least one more, um, at least one more member here, and we don't. Crystal could make it, yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and I will just call the meeting to
I
order.
think this is an important comment because we want
And it is 5:31, and Anna Rebecca isn't here today, and I know she takes minutes, so I'll try to jot some things down and then maybe use the recording to gather things. So you know, you'll help too. Okay, awesome. All right, public comment. Don't see any public here. Should we hold table approval for minutes since we don't have a quorum? Yes, got it. Okay. We will vote on those next time. And then our next agenda item is to welcome and introduce Will Boddington. Will is a neighbor, another neighbor. I've got my two neighbors next to me. And why I thought Will would be awesome on the housing advisory board is his family had like a construction sort of a lumber. Here, I'll put you on.
I don't know why she wants me to do this. No, yeah, I'm the third generation Coloradan from Colorado Springs, and my dad had a lumber company for a lot of years called Boddington Lumber Company that his father started. So we got a lot of construction connections and grew up with a lot of building and things like that. And my brother works as a finished carpenter, and I've done a lot of construction myself. And yeah, so I don't know if there is anything that I can, be of help of, but certainly keeping Manitou affordable for people is something that interests me. And me and my wife have a condo that we rent out as well, and we try to make sure that that's in a good price point as everything else in the area. So that's definitely important to us. So yeah, I'd be definitely interested in being a part of this and learning more and seeing if there's anything I can be useful for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been bugging him for how long? Like 6 months. No, I think that, I think he knows a lot of people and can bring opportunities. He knows like Electra, who was at one of our HAB meetings, and serves.
is the president of the Historic Preservation Alliance of Colorado Springs, so it's an extension of him have many connections.
Yeah. So anyway, we're excited. And so here he is, listening in on our meeting. So awesome. And yeah, like I said, I think I'd already, before you arrived, Amy, I was sort of going through the name tags, introducing people. So yep, we have Amy, and then Nancy is our city council liaison. And then Fred is the planning director who works alongside like Zach. So awesome. All right. New business. Nate, I have you on the agenda and I'm going to have Zach pull up some stuff. Nate had worked on like our housing advisory board sort of landing page on the website and did a little mock-up and wanted to discuss that and talk about it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Allison. And so this was just a starter mock-up, and I think the bigger, broader aim is as we're all meeting with people in our network and going to the economic development, these different associations, that we have a place that we can kind of point to that's, institutional quality, professionalized and stuff like that. And that's by no means a critique of what's there now. It's just like with any generation 1.0, there's a 2.0 where there can be some enhancements. So these were just some ideas. I don't know if you want me to sort of narrate through what some of the changes were, or if people had an opportunity to look at this and have any questions, like it directionally, don't like it, let's throw it overboard. I love the retro feel of the existing site. I'm open.
Did Amy or I don't know, anyone on the, not on the screen. Did anyone have a chance to compare the two, or do you want Zach to pull up the old or the current version?
And I can maybe just give a quick narrative first before Zach may pull it up. But so one is just an overview, that's self-explanatory. So a little bit around that. And I thought it would be really nice to humanize it with, I suggested Allison as board chair. People could click the play button and hear some background and context. I think we're all sort of knee deep in emails and reading things. And so it's sometimes nice just to hear, directly from a leader of the committee. So you can scroll down a little bit. So that's one concept that may resonate. Committee structure meetings. I just expanded on this a little bit. So there's a little bit more information structured a little bit differently. And then importantly, under goals and objectives, I thought it was, important to highlight this because there is so much excellent work and like information dense content in Plan Manitou and some of the other documents. So I thought if we could sort of extract those and say, look, hey, here's our top 7. These are what we're really focused on. It'll help support and inform the conversations that we have, I think. Priority action areas, this we went through, Allison, together. So I just tried to articulate that because it's a lot to consume, kind of the differences between our goals and our policy groups, and then the short-term, ongoing, long-term. It's just a lot. So I took a first crack at maybe trying to crystallize and synthesize that into a narrative that could be somewhat consumable. And then under resources, if I'm someone who's getting to know us, I think of someone like Lee Adke or Wayne, when they see kind of all this work that we're doing and we've consolidated it here, I think it inspires some credibility and confidence that, this is, Allison, credit to you and the group that's been so focused on this for 10 years. But there's a lot of work there. So behind the scenes, I compiled and consolidated some of it. So if it directionally looks okay, you know, we can add that in. So I'll pause there. That was the spirit. And then context is self-explanatory. I don't think I had any other, if you scroll down a little bit, Zach. Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, the existing, yeah. Just, yeah, it's just a little lighter. This is what's existing there now, and housing, you know, I just fleshed out each of the areas. Just
Yeah.
potentially upgraded a little bit. You know, I'm not suggesting necessarily changing the embedded calendar and so forth. So
I didn't see it before, but it looks great to me.
thank you,
Like I keep turning that off.
Amy's, yeah.
Oh, Amy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say no pressure, but I love the video portion, Allison. I think that's accommodating everyone's information style. And then I also was gonna send, and I just want to say thank you for doing that. It looks amazing. I love it. And I like how it's really mission centered. And then I was going to say I can send over the link of what is affordable housing to the Pikes Peak Bulletin. That was Nancy Fortune's favorite article that I wrote. And I think it pertains a lot to what we advocate for here with the Housing Advisory Board. So again, thank you so much for doing the legwork on that.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I agree. And if there is a way, like, yeah, we could plant some of those things like the article or a link, or I like being able to direct people. We talked about that before, like, you know, in like a meeting or something, or even Will, like I could have given him a little, given you a little more to like look at, a little more to like review in the work. But no, I like it.
I think Fred and Zach, my understanding going through the awesome Citizens Academy the last 10 weeks, that CAS manages like upgrades or updates or design changes to the website. But you let us know the best way to kind of potentially move that forward, or where it fits in priorities and bandwidth and resources and all of that, but.
Okay, yeah, I can get in contact with Cass tomorrow and kind of see what pathway might exist for you guys to have whatever element of control you might need. I think a lot of it might have to be done through her, since she is kind of the primary on that, but I can find out more tomorrow.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Thank you.
just to get an idea of, is that allowed, and time. I mean, definitely it's not a urgent activity, but something, yeah, if we could work with her, that's awesome.
And
Cool.
yeah, we probably also want to be sure that we're complying or conforming with any kind of standard, I don't know, standard web page protocols. I'm not sure what they are, but my guess is, for example, we'll want to keep the links to the agendas, the calendar, and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also the accessibility of any documents that get uploaded would have to be kind of evaluated for ADA accessibility.
I do remember talking about that one time. So yeah, so see, that would be great. And appreciate you, Nate, putting that together and sharing. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion on that landing page, HAB? Amy? No?
If on the mute button. Okay. I did just email you the article. I don't have Nate's email. If you could forward that to him. It is really short, and I know we're not even there yet, but it could be copy and pasted because that link might not live forever. It could be a dead link one day. So just something.
Got it. Thanks. All right, moving along, old business ADUs. We have Fred joining us. Thank you. Did you have some updates? I had submitted or emailed them, Fred and Zach, like old notes and documents that we had put together many moons ago. Back when, I mean, Aaliyah and I were on the board, but many of you were not. Most of you, all of you, none of you. So what's the update, Fred?
Yeah, yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So I went over the draft, and I didn't see anything that could not be worked with. That's my short answer. But what I went ahead and did, since it is an agenda item on the plan, it was an agenda item on the Planning Commission's agenda this month. Um, I wanted to make sure to get in front of them the state legislation that was passed last year in 2024 that places some requirements on municipalities to adopt certain things like allowing ADUs. So the Planning Commission talked about that. Actually, it was last Wednesday, and I included the draft that you provided, Allison, as well as the notes that you provided for their information, so they knew what the Housing Advisory Board was thinking about. When was that? About 7 years ago. The short answer is I didn't know which way the Planning Commission wanted to go. So this first working session really helped, I think, everybody understand the direction. And the Planning Commission is interested in adopting or allowing ADUs, or recommending recommending allowing ADUs as per what the state statute is requiring. So with that, we're going to continue with these work sessions, and the Planning Commission has invited the Housing Advisory Board to their next meeting in June to kind of have a joint working session or a joint discussion about what an ADU ordinance would look like, and what it should have, what it shouldn't have, what it could have, what maybe it can't have, or the things that we need to think about. So what I'm going to try to do, or what staff is going to try to do, is put together some kind of a draft revision, draft regulation for people to look at, and for everybody to look at and kind of pull apart and change around and stuff like that. But um, I wanted to let you know that you've been invited. If any HAB members are invited to attend the Planning Commission meeting next month, it's going to be the second Wednesday in June. And so with that, maybe I can give you an update about the legislation. As you probably know, the state imposed some deadlines on the municipalities to adopt ADU legislation, as well as some of the other legislation. They put a deadline of June 30th. The Colorado Department of Local Affairs has an extension request process, and let me back up a little bit. So one of the requirements for local communities in this bill, or in these bills, is that we are supposed to prepare a report to DOLA and submit it to DOLA by June 30th, explaining how we are in conformance, or how we are in compliance with state law. DOLA has and DOLA has said you can request an extension, an extension to give yourselves more time to prepare that report. I went ahead and made that application and requested a 6-month extension to give us adequate time to have the discussion that we need at the board and commission level, as well as at the city council level. So I'm waiting to hear back from that. But I've been told that we're the first municipality to request an extension. It's still May, There's still some time before June, and don't know what the other municipalities are going to do. If anybody has seen, it's going to be an interesting month or interesting couple months. I don't know if anybody's seen the news, but there is a group of municipalities in the Denver metro area. There's six suburbs that have filed a lawsuit against the state of Colorado about this. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of months. But that's my update.
Excellent. And so you said, sorry, this planning meets the second Wednesday, or did you say Tuesday?
Second Wednesday, so that'll be Wednesday, June 11th.
Okay. And they, what's their meeting time? Does anyone know?
5:30.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think, let me look at my calendar. I am available. Do most people seem like they'd want to be part of that? We can, decide later, but I know, I'm sure Aaliyah will if she's available. So do they have like hybrid option or is it all in person?
No, they have a Zoom option just like you do. So you can
Good.
Zoom in, you can attend in person, um, right there in Memorial Hall. So yeah, either way.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That will be a nice opportunity to meet with them. And
Yeah,
work
I think so too.
Good. All right. Moving right along, I had sent the email about the Peregrine property at 123 Manitou Avenue, and they were denied the LIHTC application because they didn't have enough, at least from my understanding, they didn't have enough units that afforded the county to invest in that size of a development. So they are connecting, I think, with planning. I don't know, Fred, if what he said in his email that you and another planning member were going to relook at density things, or if that was a
Yeah,
communication.
no, I've got an update on that too,
Okay.
if you would like. Yeah, I saw that. We're looking into the code a little bit more about options, and to see what we can do and can't do under the current code. Again, going back to the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission did ask, and I'm putting together some information, hopefully by June, but maybe not. The Planning Commission wants to review density requirements in its zoning districts. So that's another. So yeah, that's another thing that they're going to be looking at and perhaps making a recommendation to City Council for a revision of the city code. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get some information to Planning Commission at their June meeting, and it would be timely because with the discussion about this state legislation. But that's where we're sitting right now. So things are moving, but they're it's going to take the summer to take a look at it, take the time to have those discussions, and then consider draft ordinances in public hearings.
All right. So any thoughts on that? I know I had sent that executive order from Polis in there, and I looked through it. Many of them I think are for larger cities. Some of them are, like population 100,000 plus. But the one that like I sort of was thinking, as well as Mr. John Block with Peregrine, we were sort of thinking maybe the transit one. I think they like phrase it as like you know, like I'm sure when they're thinking transit, they're probably thinking more like a light rail or something, but the number 3 bus is a pretty, you know, busy route. I don't know what the numbers are, but I know that, you know, it's an accessible, it takes you right downtown and it has a high use rate. And so that was one that I want to look into, and I'm going to reach out to, in one of the articles, they were talking about, there was like a representative from the Municipal League of, I think, government. His first name was Kevin. I can't remember his last name, but he might be someone I'm going to try to reach out to see if he could come and speak to us, or if there's anyone that could speak a little more in detail on what like that transit density House bill is, and how it could apply to maybe this project. And the other thing too, yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, it was just like, yeah, being able to like increase density, and then, you know, the Manitou maybe being awarded grants and opportunities. So, you know, all that talk about the loss of other funds, that could be awesome. Who knows? Just speculating.
Allison, are you talking about is it the transit-oriented communities legislation? That was like the fourth piece of legislation that the state passed last year with this whole round of legislation.
Yeah, it was just in that article about Polis like signing, yeah, the executive orders, and it was a new bill. It says a new bill could force Colorado cities to allow density near transit line, and it's House Bill from last year, 24-1313, so 1313. And that was just one that says the new bill would allow more apartments and condos to be built near rail lines and high frequency bus routes in many cities.
Yep.
And then that's why I was like, the number 3 is a high frequency bus route.
And the new Dillon Mobility Hub too fits into what you're describing.
That's right, the Dillon Mobility Hub. So look at that. We got some. So anyway, I don't know, like I haven't dug deep into the writing of it. I'm just reading this article that was on the Colorado Public Radio platform, but it just talks about, yeah, like they're really wanting to, it says the bill offers more flexibility than a similar measure that was in 2023, which would have automatically allowed it, but that one didn't pass. So anyway, I'm sure there's some more information related to it. And that's why I wanted to see if there was someone that we could get to speak a little bit more about this, and if it is something that we should try to dig into. And yeah. Anyone have thoughts, questions?
Allison,
comments?
did you say SB 24-1313?
Yeah, House Bill. Yep. House
The Transit
Bill.
Oriented Development Act, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's
So
the we should dig into a little more, unless Fred knows more about it.
yeah, that's one of the four. That's one of the four bills that was passed last year, and actually, that's the one bill that does that. Manitou is not required to follow. Manitou is required to follow or do something with the other three bills, and that includes ADUs, some parking minimum requirements, and I think definition of household or family, and I can get into that a little bit more. But I put together a memo for the Planning Commission that describes all four of these pieces of legislation, including 1313, and I can forward that on to the HAB if you're interested in taking a look at it. It's very comprehensive, and it requires larger communities with essentially if you've got a light rail or a rail line going through. So this legislation will apply to most communities in the Denver metro area where they have light rail and heavy rail going through. to allow more density and have a plan for allowing more density and more housing along transit lines. We don't qualify, or we're not kicked in. We're not required to comply with the law. It doesn't mean that we can't comply with the law if we want to. So, but I can provide the HAB with more information on what that does, that I provided to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Yeah, because there's like House Bill 1007, so 1007, and that's prohibiting residential occupancy limits. Is that the one?
Yep, that's it.
Yep. That's that whole, like, we've talked about it before, family versus household. And they used to say like, if you have a housing voucher, they used to say, or they'd still say, only 2 heartbeats per bedroom, or, sort of like defining someone's household. So that sounds like that's one. And then the accessory dwelling unit is House Bill 1152. And then the minimum parking is House Bill 1304. And that one, I mean, that also, I guess, I don't know what Peregrine's development was, and if there's parking that they can reduce to then be able to increase units. That's something maybe they could look at. And then there's a few others on here, and I'm not sure what there are. There's like a sustainable, affordable housing. It's like a Senate bill. And then some residential and yeah, the transit one. So
I think that Senate one, SB 24174, I think that's what is it's requiring the housing survey. So I think that's one that we're already kind of piggybacking off of.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It requires DOLA to establish a statewide report analyzing existing and future housing needs.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and then there was like a stairwell one, and that's House Bill 25. So from this year, 1273, and that was related to like communities. I think that was that population of 100,000 plus, and that was where like you wouldn't be a condo or an apartment wouldn't be required to have 2 stairwells. They could just have one. And again, that would probably increase the number of units. And then the other one is just like a building code on factory built structures. So anyway, that would be awesome, Fred, if you can send us what you put together for planning, and we can figure out sort of which ones to like advocate on and dig into a little more. So
Yep, certainly. I will do that. I'll get that ready for you.
thanks. All right, moving right along. Item 3, mobile home ownership. I know Crystal and Nate were working on that. I'm not expecting, and if they don't have an update, but it's on the agenda.
Yeah, no, and this ties back to the kind of the domain areas. We don't have a specific report tonight, but we are working together. We've had several calls and seen each other, so we're getting the flywheel going.
Excellent, thank you.
Allison,
Yes.
I don't know. Did you get my email on the owner contact information?
I did, and it's funny. I was like, I sent Nate and Crystal a different document, and I forgot to attach that. So I'll make sure that they get that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
It's the owner of the Manitou one, right? That's what you had
Yes.
sent me. Yeah,
Yes.
some information. So what's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll get that to them. All right. Moving right along. We have reports. The Colorado Springs Community Development Advisory Committee. Nate, did you and Crystal attend that and have anything you need to share?
Yeah, the thing that I would share is, and I know everyone's working 2, 3 full-time jobs, but these Community Development Action Committee sessions are really, really interesting, and they're putting a lot of time and energy around crystallizing what they would envision as the future state and the solutions to solve homelessness, which is a very difficult thing to solve, as we all know, but they're putting a lot of like intellectual muscle behind it. And so yesterday's 2-hour meeting was facilitated with the members. I think there's 13 members on CDAC, maybe 12 members, and they were very focused on getting alignment and consensus around what the moonshot is, what the vision would be for the future state 10 years from now for Colorado Springs, and then a lot of the details behind it. And they were very clear to kind of split those two things up. My takeaway is, and what I say, because I'm just a public observer, at each one of these meetings, they open it up for a couple minutes, and Crystal and I were both publicly observing it. And I'm always quick to let them know that, I'm very appreciative. We represent the Housing Advisory Board in Manitou, and this is all very leverageable information for us. But there was no concrete items that came out of the meeting yesterday. It was really about strategic planning, envisioning, forging alignment across all of this. But it's great to see. I mean, it's a big engine, and they're spending a lot of time around it. And Amy's the chief homeless officer down there, and so she's very vocal. I'm trying to think of a couple of things that may be interesting. So on the vision, there were a couple of things that emerged. One was this idea, not so much around building new buildings and everything like that, but maybe the true north is to where we get as a community, Manitou, Colorado Springs specifically, where homelessness is normalized in the same way that we've seen a tremendous amount of awareness brought to mental health issues, where that's sort of been normalized, this idea of normalizing homelessness, that there may be real value in it. But that was one of about 10 things, but I thought I'd share that because I found that to be very, very interesting. Any other key data points? I think their June meeting, I think they're going to cut some of the data on the housing survey assessment that they sent around that I think a lot of us completed. I know I completed the survey, but that's TBD. I'll report back out on that. I don't want to misspeak on that. So yeah, questions on CDAC, questions on what they're doing. Anyone?
Yeah, Nate, I had a question.
Sure.
When you say normalized, can you say more about that? Or are they saying that likely most Americans may experience it?
I think that's the nuance behind what they're saying. And that was just one bullet point. They had all these work group sessions where they went, all these teams of 2, and they came up with different things. I mean, Crystal and I, collaborated in that work team, and I'll just share with her, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind, when they asked Crystal, well, what is sort of your true north when you think of affordable housing? And hers was every child in our community starts the day with a full belly and having slept in a safe and secure bed. So it's sort of these big, broad, directional, true north. And I think for some of the people in CDEC who really want to just get moving on stuff, get the hammer and the nail out of the toolbox and start making stuff happen, those kind of sessions are pretty hard. because it feels philosophical, but I think we've all been in strategic planning sessions there. It's hard work, it's sort of a measure twice, cut once kind of thing. But that was pretty interesting. I think from my standpoint, some of the things that I put, these are less vision, but more directional was, for us in Manitou, maintaining multi-generational neighborhoods, maintaining socioeconomic variety, maintaining life experience variety, what I call school of hard knocks. Hopefully all the work we are doing will lead to sort of new innovative programs to help support things like more intergenerational housing or fractional ownership of homes and things like that. A lot of the emphasis right now is on building things rather than running parallel some of these other things. Maybe there's incentive programs to have folks, live in an ADU that's partially financed rather than building something new. So yeah, that's where it was, and I would really recommend attending it if it works in your schedules. So that's the report out on that.
Awesome. And you're saying that's a monthly meeting?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the Housing Advisory Board.
Okay.
Yeah, it's addressing a lot of the same issues. But Colorado Springs, obviously the scale of the complexity there, but also they have more resources to bring in these outside consultants that are helping to facilitate these working sessions. So yeah, we can just be a good, lucky beneficiary of it. And Wayne sits on CDAC. He's one of the
Nice.
members of that board. So
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool. Yeah, I like that, like fractional home ownership. Does that mean like people come together and like buy a house and share in the opportunity, or?
yeah, it was
Like co-op condos.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
and actually the same structure. So it's when I was at Jill Gabler's Pikes Peak Housing Network Forum, that was one of the specific questions I asked the panelists of developers that were represented there. There were 5 of them. And I was just curious because I hadn't done any research around it, what the level of interest was in fractional ownership. And they said kind of culturally in Colorado, there isn't a whole lot of interest, So I think, if you looked around the country, it's the same kind of close cousin to the trend that you see in co-sharing among seniors, where they consolidate their economic wherewithal and they live together in a single home,
Yeah, that's becoming like the conversation around that. I hear that more about the seniors. And then like Amy said, sort of the co-op, which actually does feel Manitou-y, like it seems like that's sort of, yeah, like the Manitou thing. But yeah, that's awesome. That's just another like housing solution, affordable housing solution that we can think about, like as we're realizing we don't have land to build new places. That could be something like some of these giant homes up in the Crystal Hills or whatever, could. That's right. Join your, like you said. So anyway, more to come. Thank you for attending and giving that report. That's awesome. And then Amy, I didn't have you officially on the agenda, but did you and Crystal connect with housing, with the Pikes Peak Bulletin on the article?
We did. I submitted an article at the first of the month. It has not gone to print, and I've emailed the editor twice. She must be really busy. So hopefully it makes it to print before the end of the survey, which I believe is June 13th. So she might be waiting for something timely, more timely to the deadline or something. But if anyone runs into her or sees her, there's just a lot of, it typically falls in local politics. And as we all know, there's a lot of local politics going on right now. So, and they've always been kind to us. So no, I'm not pressing or anything, but it is written and submitted.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that. Cause we jumped ahead a little on that and I appreciate you. And then you actually have that senior article ready too, right? So then we'll be ready to plant that in there. So excellent. All right. Nancy, did you have any reports for us?
I can just give you an update of kind of what council's been doing of late. Let's see, last night we approved the energy performance loan of like $4 million, and we talked about that before. That's water meters for all of the Manitou houses, new water meters, lights and windows, energy efficient in city buildings, so that saving us a lot of money. 2, we reduced the retail marijuana local tax from 10% to 5%, so that we'd be at the same level of Colorado Springs, because we've been losing a lot of business to Colorado Springs, and I think that we might be fighting a losing battle on that, but hopefully they'll retain some market share here in Manitou. We increased a few parking fees. We increased the EMS fee for our ambulance service to be on par with those locally in the rest of the region. We added a convenience fee, so those people who use the not the kiosk, but if you use the QR code, there'll be a 41-cent charge added to the fee for that. And in zone 3, we increased the all-day parking, which includes the Dillon and the on-street parking down in that part of the city, from I think $2 up to $5. And it was interesting, your discussion about Mountain Metro Route 3, because we also voted to make Route 3 free, starting, I think, in the fall. I can't remember. Starting within the year, that Route 3 will be free for everybody. And that is the busiest route in Mountain Metro jurisdiction. So, that you can use that, even though it's not required of Manitou to do that. Let's see. We reduced the speed limit in Manitou in all the neighborhoods to 20 miles per hour, and unless posted. And we also decided to reduce the speed limit on El Paso Boulevard, which is posted, I think, at 25 miles an hour, to 20 miles an hour as well. So expect more and more streets to be reduced to 20 miles per hour. And then we've been working extensively on the budget, needless to say, looking at ways to reduce our budget this year and next year, because we just anticipate that our revenues are going to go down, down, down over the next, who knows when, due to tariffs, due to marijuana, due to people not traveling, not being uncomfortable buying things. So we're looking for ways to reduce our budget, our expenses, and increase our revenue. So that's it, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Nancy, were you saying, because it's the bus is free from June to August, you're saying that, where is it free? It's going to free like throughout Manitou?
No, all the way from the terminal in Colorado Springs.
Terminal to Manitou?
Yep, the whole route will be free.
Free?
Yep.
Like even past the summer months?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep, both Colorado Springs and Manitou are investing to make it free for everybody.
Well, see, that is another incentive for the house, for that lovely property right there. Anyway, more to come, more to conversate. Okay. I just had one last thing. The Colorado Housing Conference that's in Keystone, October 15th to 17th, they have their scholarship application up, and I threw my hat in for a full ride, and 2 other people can throw their hat in for a full ride. I mean, anyone could put their hat in, but they'll only approve 3 people per like agency. So I don't know if HAB counts as an agency. You could probably put it in, Amy, as your own agency. But if I would just encourage people, because maybe you'll compel them in your writing different than I would on why you think you should get a full ride. So a full ride is to go to the conference and have lodging. We would pay for, to drive there or whatever. But I would encourage people. It seems pretty cool. Last year it had a lot of presentations that like I was like, ooh, I would have liked to go to some of those. So I'm sure this year will be similar. So think about it. October 15, 16, and 17, and it's in Keystone. So I would encourage whoever has interest to, you just click on there. I think the application, the scholarship thing closes, what does it say? Sooner than later. So yeah, get on there. Just Google Housing Colorado Conference. And then they have a scholarship link. So yeah, I think it'd be good to network and learn. Probably some of these new house build thing conversations might be in there. Who knows? So. And that is all we have, unless planning had anything else to report out, or if you're good.
I have one other thing.
Yes.
Maybe just some house cleaning regarding minutes. We do need to follow a little bit different protocol with minutes moving forward. So we've been asked to submit minutes for kind of a cursory review by our city clerk's office before they're adopted and put up on Docs on Demand for public viewing. And so I guess whoever does the minutes on a monthly basis for the HAB, if you could submit those minutes to Zach, and then Zach can shoot them over to the city clerk for a quick review before we get them before we get them approved and then posted.
And Zach, you had sent an email about that. What was the timeliness you were saying?
Of the minutes.
Of trying to get them to you. Did you mention that at all?
I've been in contact with Rebecca. I know she has done last month's minutes and has a list of the minutes from last year that we need to kind of play catch up on. And I also know that the city clerk had sent us kind of like a group email that she was attached to as well.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'd have to get a little more information regarding her communication with the city clerk to ensure that maybe there is that understanding, as Fred was saying, to follow those protocols.
Yeah, just to know for sure, like how quick we need to get them in.
Yeah, I'd have to get in touch with the clerk and see kind of what their timeline is.
Okay.
But she was pretty quick with last month's. I think we got it
Yeah.
maybe a week after the meeting itself. So
That's awesome. I'm just asking for myself as I'm cat scratching some notes out here. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Next month, is Wayne going to join?
I sent Wayne a note earlier today, but so we'll see.
Okay.
I hope so. He's open to join whenever it works in his schedule. So.
All right. We might have a speaker, Wayne Bland from the place, the launch pad. I'd kind of asked if he could advise a citizens volunteer group on ways that we can, dance around NIMBYism and advocate for affordable housing. So that will be great. And then I'm going to be calling a few more people and we'll keep on learning. So thank everyone for your time. We'll call this a meeting at 6:23. Appreciate your time. Bye. Bye, Amy.